Hello, morning everyone. Apologies for the confusion. I guess we will do this session first before we break off for tea break. Right. First of all, very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much to AKA Digital for inviting Amplify here today and myself to be sharing with you guys on how do you go about connecting social media marketing to commerce and care. And of course, a little bit of introduction about myself. So my name is Gabriel. I lead solutions for Amplify in the JPAC region. So basically, I've been with the organization for the last 9 years. So literally, I'm a guy who actually loves social media, and I've been living and breathing social media both as a consumer as well as a practitioner in the last 9 years. Right? So, quick questions. A raise of hand. If any one of you have not actually looked into your social media network this morning, regardless of any channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, any channel, anyone have not actually touched. Alright, so of course, okay. So probably you also have done a lot. Probably that's why you might not have had it. But actually, you get the rest of the room, right? You can see a lot of you guys actually have already, get in touch with social media every day, right? Probably the first thing you might wake up, after your coffee, you browse on the social media network, right? So I want to share a little bit more about how do you go about optimizing the way you do social media, right? Marketing. So first of all, a little bit about Amplify. You might not have heard of the brand name, but do not worry. I'm not here today to tell you about Amplify, right? Because what is more important is about yourself, your brand, and your customer. But first of all, just a quick introduction. What do? We are a social first, right? Solutions that help brands to optimize the way how they engage with consumers across the digital and the social channels specifically, right? More importantly, we connect brands on social media to engage with consumers on, first of all, top of the funnel, marketing, connecting it to commerce, and then lastly to end off with actually customer care, right? Some of the brands we work with, specifically in the Asia Pacific region, first of all, I mentioned about, I actually have the luxury to, I've been doing this for 9 years now. I'm very lucky enough that I've worked with thousands of brands in Asia Pacific itself over the last 9 years. Right. For me, a lot of people ask me, Gabriel, you've been doing this for 9 years in this same company. What do you really enjoy? To me, the ability and the possibility to work with every brand on a daily basis for the last 9 years and learn from everyone the way how they become successful, or more importantly, learn about the failures of a lot of brands means a lot to me. And today, I'm going to bring some examples, practical examples for you guys. Like I said, it's about you and your customers. I want to help you guys to be successful. So I think we all agree, right? More and more business today are going to conduct business on social and digital channels. Every one of us today on stage, all the speakers are talking about how to leverage digital and social channels to engage, to improve the customer experience, right? So a proof in Vietnam itself is not new. This is data from Amplify. So basically, we have pulled out from last year, the whole of last year, 2022. These are the top brands conducting social media marketing on Facebook as well as Instagram. So you can see these are the list of brands who are doing amazing job, right? First of the list, you can see, right, Shopee. Just on Facebook alone, last year, they actually gained a total of 398 million interactions with consumers in Vietnam. That's huge and significant. And of course, I'm very proud to call Shopee my customer, right? I've been working with Shopee for the last 5 years. And to share a bit story background, how we get started. 5 years ago, I started to actually speak to Shopee, right? I still remember back then, I spoke to the CMO, the head of marketing, right? We talked about how do they go about conducting social media marketing in the Asia Pacific region. And back then, they were a very new brand. They were just a startup. And they told me, Gabriel, our objectives and our aim as an organization is to become the #1 e-commerce marketplace in Southeast Asia, right? And back then, I'm already working with Lazada. Lazada was the #1 platform in Southeast Asia. And true enough, 3 years later, Shopee displaced Lazada across Southeast Asia to become the #1, right, marketplace in this region, right? So, looking at customer experience, I think it's important we really understand what is the challenges that we as marketers face today in the social media space. If we look back into history, 2011, I'm not sure any one of you are familiar with this interface of how Instagram looks like back then when they first launched. Apologies, I'm old enough, so I understand, I know there's a lot of young people here. You might not be familiar, but this is how it looks like in 2011 when it first launched. And back then, it was a very simple platform. It's simply just a platform for you and your friends to share about your daily lives, photos, activities, right? I can see your photos, you can see my photos, I can like, you can like. That's about it. And that is the user experience back then. Fast forward 2016, this is where brands started to take social media seriously as a platform to market themselves, to market their products. And you can see, right, the interface changed significantly. There's a lot more capabilities. Specifically, for example, DMs. I can DM a brand, direct message. A brand can respond back to me. So that is how user experience changed in that year, right, across with the brands. So let's fast forward again to today, right? What is the user experience like on social media, for example? It has evolved significantly every day. So today, a lot of people can actually do product research and discovery on the social media network, right? So you can see here, basically you can do product discovery. Brands can make their content shoppable. So that's why we call it shoppable content. So no longer you will only be able to shop when actually you go to the website. You can do that as well in the social channels. Next, if I have interest in a particular product, I can actually look up for more information within the social platform. So over here, you can see that I can actually go into the shop within the Instagram platform or Facebook or TikTok shops. I can even click on some of the links that takes me to the specific product on the websites to get more information. I can browse product now today. I can set up a shop on the social channels. I'm able to actually browse the product just like I do on the e-commerce platform. Product research. Excuse me. So basically, you can even go further to understand the product, right, and be able to click through, for example, to the website. So connecting your social channels to your digital channels, right? And last but not least, product inquiry. This is extremely important, and I hope you guys really take note of this. Just also a quick question. How many of you today, when you do social media marketing, when people actually message you, DM you, or comment on your content, you actually ignore your customer? If you're brave enough, put up your hand. No? Great. Right, you guys are doing a great job. And trust me, based on my data that I see from the research that we do internally, brands that take social care seriously has at least a 30% increase in their engagement with the brands, with the consumers. So, I mean, you won't open up a shop and ignore your user, am I right to say so? I mean, if someone walks into your store, right, you probably would ignore them. So why would you ignore them on social media channels? You shouldn't, right? And that's the fact, right? Actually, we are able to connect with consumers and be able to interact with them on the social channels. So you can see, actually, no longer the brand define the way how the consumer will do their research. I guess in earlier presentations as well, it becomes very complex of the whole entire customer journey, right? So customers are in control of the way how they want to engage with brands and how they actually want to consume the content from brands, right? So there's a big shift. So therefore, you can see that social and digital now becomes an extremely important first touch point for a lot of brands and consumers. And of course, today you don't just shop on the e-commerce platform, you could also shop directly from the social channels itself. And last but not least, it's about proactive engagement and response and customer care with consumers. No longer I call into the call center and I have to wait 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get an answer back, right? So that's where we as Amplify come together to provide this social first CX platform to really help brands to connect the dot between social media marketing to social commerce, as well as social care, right? To complete the loop. And later on in the subsequent presentations, I will share with you some practical examples of how I work with my clients to deliver all these 3 different experiences across the consumer journey. So more importantly, from the brand perspective, right, how do you go about connecting the different teams that's involved in your organizations that's delivering this different experience? The challenge for brand today is that all 3 different teams probably are very siloed in your organizations, right? They don't access the same data or the same platform. That resulted in the challenge of trying to provide a single source of truth as well as experience to your consumers that you engage with. So we come in as a single platform where first we help you to be optimized using social media marketing through your marketing teams to drive from awareness to engagement. I still remember about 9 years back when I first started in this industry, the very often questions I get from senior stakeholders, right? Gabriel, what is the ROI of social media marketing? I'm sure this is something that rings a bell and familiar with every one of you, right? So to answer that question back then was pretty challenging, to be honest, right? So of course, marketing is for you to drive awareness, right, as well as engagement branding. But it's difficult to connect that back to an actual conversion, right? Especially where technology is not capable back then. But today, it's extremely easy for me to justify that because we can actually do commerce on social channels as well. And given the capabilities of other platforms you have heard from the rest of the speaker, you can easily do attributions to be able to correlate back the effectiveness of your social media marketing connecting to your sales figure. So therefore, we also produce social commerce. I think it's a big term that you guys are hearing these days. It's a buzz term, where we want to help the e-commerce and the sales team to be able to drive the great work created by marketing team, the engagement into a conversion. And last but not least, after you have actually converted a customer, you want to be able to take care of them on the same channel on social, through social care. Right? Basically, your customer care team can come in the same platform to be able to drive from the conversion created into a retention or potential upsell and cross-sell, and more importantly, advocacy. So how do we do this, and what are some of the key use cases of my clients leveraging our solutions? I'll just walk you through a couple of them. You might be very familiar. First of all, on marketing, right? So these are some of the key areas that my clients actually leverage the solutions to try and drive engagement on social channels. The first one is about content planning, as well as publishing. Well, there's so much content being generated today on the social channels, on the digital channels. It's very challenging actually for brands today to try and create all these different types of content, right? I'm sure every day you probably will be really cracking your head in terms of brainstorming what should be the next piece of content that we should be creating, right, for your next campaign, for your next post. So that can be very challenging. We come in to actually help you to understand what works and what doesn't in terms of content engagement on social channels, so that you'll be able to create the right content for the right consumers and users and on the social channels. Listening and reviews, basically social listening, helping you to really understand what people are talking about your brands, your solutions, or your products on the social channels. Be able to leverage these insights, again, to better engage with consumers. Reporting and analytics, right? So basically, you must understand your performance in order to be able to understand how you benchmark against your competitors, to be able to drive better performance. On commerce part, right? So basically, we provide 3 different solutions. Social commerce, we help you to set up your social shops, right? Syncing your e-commerce store directly into your social shops, so that you'll be able to drive social commerce on the social channels. Live stream, right? I think the beauty about coming here is about the human touch and the human interactions that we all have here today, instead of through a Zoom session, right? Same thing, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the way how you shop. When you go into a shopping mall, you walk into a store, someone greets you, you can actually feel and touch the products, you can ask questions, especially when you're buying a high ticket item, you probably have questions, you need some consultations, you want to be able to get some feedback and information, right? We are very familiar with that. However, this is missing on the digital channels. So in order to bridge and humanize the way we engage with consumers on digital channels, we enable brands to do live streaming and live advisor, which with a single click, for example, on the social content, I'm able to lead you directly to an advisor that can actually answer questions regarding the product that you're inquiring immediately, right? So really short-circuit the way how consumer is shopping with you as a brand and a product. And last but not least, on customer care. So we basically have a unified inbox that helps you to bring in all your content, your comments, your DMs from all the social networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. We bring in everything into a single interface, easy for you to actually do the management. And of course, social don't sleep, right? Social channels don't sleep, but we do. We need to rest. So how do brands handle the time where your customer care team or your social team or your community team is not available? You could also leverage chatbot solutions to try to help you bridge the gap. And last but not least, listening to your customers, voice of the customer solutions, running simple survey to understand the CSAT score of their experience is extremely important. We are able to help you to actually collate all these data and insights. So let's get into all the success story that I want to share. So I will quote each success story for each different cloud solution. So let's look into social media marketing. This chart looks at the data from the Q4 of 2022, right? So you can see that overall median post interactions declining trend across Facebook and Instagram, specifically for Instagram. This is across the Southeast Asia market, so not just specific to Vietnam. But what I'm trying to tell you here is that typically, generally, this is the trend. It's a declining trend of all the brands. So basically, let's look at a very large data set of 19,500 Facebook and Instagram profiles in Southeast Asia. So it shows that actually many brands are not effectively marketing themselves on the social channels, right? And one of the reasons is because you're serving the wrong content. You're creating content in a way that is not helping you to engage with your consumers. We did these studies based on data that we mined into, again, based on all the pages in the Southeast Asian market. We realized that brands are creating a lot of content that is actually non-human creatives. What do I mean by that? Graphical images, right, for example. And you can see that 71% of the content created is actually non-human creatives. And only 28% of the contents are actually with real human being in the image or in the video that you create the content. And over here, you can see that the effectiveness in terms of driving engagement is very different. With just 28% of the content created, human creatives actually generated a total of 63% interactions. 63% interactions out of just 28% content generated. So my question to you as a brand, will you want to spend money, time, and effort creating beautiful graphical image that people don't engage with? Or do you prefer to create humanized content with real human in it, like yourself, myself? It doesn't need to be something that's very professionally done. It just needs to be authentic, right? We want authenticity. Consumer wants authenticity, right? Even a very candid image of yourself or your team, if you post it on your Facebook page or your LinkedIn profile, I'm sure people get a lot more engaging with your content, right, compared to a graphical image. So I hope this insight is helpful for everyone. Start creating humanized content. And one brand that I'm really proud that I work with, as I mentioned earlier on, is Shopee. Of course, they're number one in Vietnam market. I started to work with them, and this is essentially how they become number one, right? With the aspirations and the dream to become number one platforms in Southeast Asia, they went on to be very data-driven organizations that leverage data to guide them in the way how they actually create content. So to give you an example, they literally label every piece of content that they generate on social channels across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, so on and so forth. Different products, different brands, different colors, different content teams. They analyze into all these data points to identify what kind of content to really user engage with to drive engagement. And you have seen for the results earlier on in my slides, how that can drive them to the number one place in Vietnam itself. Next, social and live commerce. as I mentioned, right, we want to be, optimized in the way how we engage with consumers. And again, as I said, we are social first. Why don't we leverage social content on our website as well? So one of my clients that I work with, phuong in this region, one thing they do is that they bring and connect social through their commerce, which is on their website. So they leverage a lot of user-generated content across their website here. So basically, they have a social wall on their websites that showcase all the beautiful user-generated content and video from TikTok, from Instagram, so on and so forth. And I guess we like to see social proofs. People actually really buying the product or using the product, share reviews about how I've been using the product as consumers. So consumers buy from consumers. They don't really buy from brands, right? So in this case, you really need to be able to connect to what they want to see, and not what you want them to see. And in this case, leveraging your social content, user-generated content across to your website and e-commerce platforms can help significantly. Next, personalized live commerce. I'm sure all of us are very familiar with live commerce. We've seen a lot of live commerce on the social channels, like TikTok is going extremely viral. Trust me, yesterday I was in a meeting together with Ming as well, with a brand here, we talk about it, live commerce. I work with a lot of brands doing live commerce, specifically on TikTok. It's really gaining a lot of traction over the years. And the first time I actually did it with a brand in Indonesia, of course not in Vietnam, in Indonesia. In real time, I see the number of conversion happening. It's crazy. Trust me, really, I couldn't believe my eyes what I'm seeing. That people are actually really buying on all these live commerce show, and event, and the conversion is significant. Right? Again, like I mentioned, people want to buy from people. You don't want to buy from a robot. You don't want to buy from a whole website, right? So if you're able to actually connect people with humans on the digital touch point by enabling live commerce, specifically personalized live commerce. So in this case, with the click of a single button, either on my social media channels, or when actually you go to the website, you can deploy these widgets, right? You allow users to click one button and be able to start asking questions about the product that they are looking at. Or even potentially, this advisor here could even showcase the product, right? And live demo of the product. So you basically kind of mimic their in-store experience if they go to a physical store directly onto your website, right? So you really kind of humanize the way how they interact with you again on the brand, on the website, like they do on the physical stores. So these are some of the success stories. So basically, during the COVID time or the pandemic time, electronics industry benefited significantly from the live commerce initiative. So all these brands, we actually worked together over the last 3 years to deliver live commerce on their social and digital channels, and they have seen significant results. I will skip some of these numbers, right? But more importantly, I think let's touch on social care, because to me, this comes very dearly to my heart, right? Because I feel that every time when I speak to a brand, they take social media channels as a billboard. For me, I feel very sad. Like I mentioned, I'm very passionate about social media. To me, right, social media is about engaging, right? It started off as a peer-to-peer network. So how has that actually changed when brands start to leverage it to become a billboard? So looking at it, right, the demand for social customer care is real today. So I'll just quote some examples, like for example in Singapore, if my handphone has some issue with the network or my telco, I'm not going to call the call center. I will straight away tweet at them, right, for example. So you can see that right, the challenge for brands today, right, is not just to market on social, they should be selling on social, and they should be also taking care of their customers on the social channels. And one way we help brands, right, to try and prioritize care and put your customer first, I think also coming back to the point how we can connect to the other solutions by helping you to aggregate all these first-party data around your customers. I think Mr. Ming mentioned about learning about your customers, really understanding them. So through our solutions, when you are engaging with them on the social channels, you can start to actually pick up all these information about the customers. Like for example, what is their social handle, right? On Facebook, on Instagram, so on and so forth. You can collate all these information And at the end of the day, more importantly, these informations can all be passed back to your CBD, right, CDP platforms to be able to do more personalizations and engagement that you can learn from the other platforms that you hear today. So one success story, as I mentioned, telco. This is TuneTalk in Malaysia. Telco is the worst hit industry in terms of social, right? Everyone will go to them to complain every time when they have an issue, broadband issue, network issue. So TuneTalk, I convinced them to take a different approach. They're so afraid to use social as a channel because they're just simply bombarded with negative sentiments. Within 2 years, we worked very closely to actually close that gap and we turned positive. And you can see the result here is because they start to take social seriously as a customer care platform, they're actually able to build and address all the negativity about the brand, about the services, and turn these users into their advocates in the long run. And the result is significant. It actually not just drive advocacy, but it actually also translates into their content and social engagement performance. As I mentioned earlier on, if you take social seriously as a two-way communication channel, you will also be able to drive engagement at the end of the day. Right? So with that, I'll come to my end of my presentations. So just to showcase a little bit as well, Amplify is a trusted partner with a lot of brands as well as platforms. So if you guys have questions, I'm more than happy to connect later on with you guys in the room here or outside. Thank you.